1 year had passed since the button was pressed. The Council had stopped searching actively. The probe still drifted through space, still reported nothing. The investigation teams had returned from Earth and the other empty human worlds. Everyone had accepted a simple truth. Humanity was gone. But acceptance didn't mean comfort. The galaxy felt different now. Emptier, more uncertain. 47 star systems stood abandoned. Perfect cities waiting for inhabitants who would never return. Trade routes that once connected human colonies now led nowhere. The galactic economy had adjusted, but the absence was felt everywhere. Young analyst Kenji Matsuda continued his work despite his superiors' disinterest. He'd been demoted twice for refusing to accept the official narrative. They said humans had destroyed themselves. He knew better. His research consumed him. "You need to let this go," his supervisor told him during another performance review. "Humanity is gone. Your obsession is affecting your career." "They're not gone," Kenji insisted. "They moved beyond our ability to detect them." "There's a difference, then where are they?" Kenji pulled up his latest calculations on the display. "Everywhere and nowhere. If my theory about void space is correct, they exist in a layer of reality parallel to ours. They could be 1 light year away or 1,000,000. Distance doesn't work the same way for them anymore." His supervisor sighed. "Even if you're right, what does it matter? We can't reach them. They're not bothering us." Let it go, but Kenji couldn't let it go, because if he was right, humans hadn't just escaped. They'd evolved beyond the Council entirely. And that meant the balance of galactic power had shifted in ways nobody wanted to acknowledge. In a galaxy whose name the Council didn't know, Commander Hyejin Bayek walked through the completed central plaza of New Terra's capital. The city now housed 8 million people. Parks filled with children. Markets bustled with activity. Above, ships came and went constantly, connecting this world to hundreds of others. "It's beautiful," Elder Yunji Kwan said, walking beside her. The old woman moved slowly now, but her mind was as sharp as ever. "We built something the Council never could." "What do you mean?" Hyejin asked. "Unity without authority, growth without exploitation, freedom without chaos. The Council maintained order through control. We're maintaining it through choice. Every human here chose to leave everything behind and build something new. That's power they can never replicate." Hyejin considered this. The evacuation had been humanity's greatest achievement, not because of the technology, but because billions of people had trusted each other enough to leap into the unknown together. "Elder Kwan, some of the military commanders want to know your opinion. Should we make contact with the Council again?" The old woman stopped walking. She looked up at the sky, though the sun was too bright to see the stars beyond. "What would we gain from it?" she asked. "Closure, maybe. Let them know we're not a threat. That we just wanted to be left alone." "And what would they gain?" Hyejin thought about it. Knowledge that we're still out here. Relief that we're not planning revenge. Or fear that we're beyond their reach and growing stronger every day. Elder Kwan countered. "No, child. Let them sit with their uncertainty. Let them wonder. It's the kindest lesson we can teach them. Sometimes the greatest power is the power you don't have to use." Admiral Seojin Park stood in the war room, studying tactical displays. His staff had been running simulations for months. Not attack scenarios, defense scenarios. What if the Council finds us? Was the question that drove every simulation. His team had modeled 100 different contact situations. The results were always the same. If the Council came looking, they'd lose. "Sir, we've run the numbers again," his tactical officer reported. "Even if the Council deployed their entire military, we have decisive advantages. Void drives mean we can hit any target instantly. They'd still be using jump gates and hyperspace lanes. They can't catch what they can't track." "But we could catch them," Admiral Park said quietly. "Yes, sir. If we wanted to. We could strike every major Council world simultaneously. They'd have no warning, no defense. The war would be over in hours." Admiral Park stared at the displays. Every marker represented potential targets. Council military stations, shipyards, command centers. The locations were known. The void drive coordinates were calculated. They could do it. Wipe out the Council's ability to threaten anyone ever again. But that would make them conquerors, destroyers. The very thing the Council had feared. "Delete all attack scenarios," Admiral Park ordered. "From now on, we only plan for defense. If they find us, we protect ourselves, but we don't go looking for a fight. Sir, respectfully, that could leave us vulnerable. What if they— No, we're better than that. We're better than them. Prove it. In the council chamber, the atmosphere had changed dramatically over the past year. The confidence and certainty that once defined their meetings had evaporated. Now debates were cautious. Decisions were hesitant. The shadow of absent humanity hung over everything. We need to address the human territories, one delegate said. 47 star systems sitting empty. Resources unused. Should we colonize them? The suggestion created immediate controversy. Some species saw opportunity. Others saw it as disrespectful, claiming the bones of a dead civilization. Targan saw it as dangerous. Those worlds are monuments, Targan argued. Reminders of what we did, of what we lost. If we colonize them, we're saying humanity never mattered, that their absence changes nothing. But they're gone, Vexithar said. The ambassador looked older now. The past year had worn him down. Whether we respect their memory or not, they're not coming back. We might as well use the resources. Are you so sure they're not coming back? Targan asked. The chamber fell silent. It was the question everyone thought about, but nobody wanted to voice. What if humans did return? What if they'd been watching this whole time? What if everything the council did was being judged by billions of humans they couldn't see? We should leave the worlds alone, the council chairman decided. Not out of respect necessarily, out of caution. If humans return and find we've taken their territory, it could be interpreted as an act of war. The vote was close, but the decision held. Human space would remain human space, empty or not. On New Terra, 3 billion people now called the new colonies home. They'd built not just cities but entire civilizations. Art flourished. Science advanced. Children were born who had never seen Earth, never known anything but freedom. Dr. Ji-Young Park, the physicist who'd perfected the void drive, taught at the new university. Her students came from colonies across 12 galaxies. They were developing technology that would have seemed like magic to the council. Professor, why don't we share our discoveries with the council? One student asked. Void drive technology could benefit everyone. Ji-Young paused her lecture. It was a good question, a fair question. Because they're not ready, she answered. The council's first instinct when they saw our potential was to cage us. If we give them void drive technology now, they won't use it to explore. They'll use it to control. First themselves, then anyone else who doesn't fit their vision of order. But won't they eventually figure it out on their own? Probably. Maybe in 50 years. Maybe 100. By then we'll be even further ahead. And maybe by then, they'll have learned that cooperation works better than control. But that's their lesson to learn, not ours to teach. Captain Daeho Kim, who'd commanded the research vessel Horizon's Edge during the evacuation, now led humanity's exploration fleet. His ships were pushing deeper into uncharted space, finding new worlds, making contact with species the council had never encountered. Captain, we're detecting signs of intelligent life in the next system, his science officer reported. Primitive spaceflight. Chemical rockets. They're probably a century away from faster-than-light capability. Daeho studied the readings. Another young species taking their first steps into the cosmos. The question was, what should humanity do about it? Open a channel to New Terra. Get me Elder Quan's council. When the council assembled, Daeho presented his findings. We have a choice to make. Do we make contact with species like this? Do we share our technology? Or do we stay hidden and let them develop naturally? Elder Quan spoke after long consideration. We make contact, but not as superiors. As neighbors, we offer friendship, not advancement. We let them grow at their own pace. And if they ever need help, we're there. But we never ever try to control their development. So we become the opposite of the council, Daeho said. No, we become what the council should have been. Humanity's first contact with another species since leaving. Council space happened 3 months later. The species called themselves the Yor. They were startled to receive messages from beyond their solar system, but curious rather than afraid. Yejin Bayek led the diplomatic mission personally. When the Yor asked where humans came from, she told them the truth. From a place where they'd been afraid and small, to a place where they could be brave and free. The Yor asked if humans would share their technology. Hyejin said no, not yet, but she promised friendship, protection if needed, and the freedom to grow on their own terms. It was everything the council had failed to offer humanity. Back in council space, Kenji Matsuda sat alone in his office. staring at data nobody else cared about anymore. 6 months had passed since humanity vanished. The Council fleet still occupied Earth and the other abandoned human worlds. They'd turned the empty cities into a massive investigation site, searching for any clue about where billions of people had gone. Commander Bora Jung walked through another empty street, this time in what had been Mumbai. The monsoon season had come and gone. Automated systems had kept the drainage working, kept the buildings maintained. Rain fell on empty sidewalks and flowed through gutters that served no one. Her team had checked millions of buildings across dozens of worlds. They'd found homes with pictures still on the walls, schools with lessons written on boards, restaurants with food preservation systems still running. Everywhere they looked, they found evidence of a civilization that had simply walked away from everything they'd built. "Commander, you should see this," one of her team called from inside a library. Bora entered the building. Row after row of books stood perfectly organized. Digital archives hummed quietly. Her team member stood in front of a wall-sized display showing what appeared to be a timeline of human history. "They left everything," the team member said. "Their entire history. Their literature. Their science. Their art. It's all here, perfectly preserved." Bora studied the display. Images of humans throughout their development. From primitive beginnings to spacefaring civilization, the timeline ended abruptly 6 months ago with a simple phrase, "And then we learned to fly." They want us to remember them, Bora realized. Not as enemies, not as threats, just as a species that existed, built something beautiful and moved on. Back on the Council flagship, Vexithar received yet another report of nothing. No human signals detected, no human ships spotted, no human communications intercepted. They'd deployed 3 million probes throughout known space. Every single one reported the same thing: absence. "It's impossible," Vexithar muttered. "Billions of people can't just disappear. They have to be somewhere." His science team had been working non-stop, analyzing the energy signatures left behind during humanity's departure. The readings were consistent with the brief description in Council intelligence files about something called a void drive, but the theory behind it seemed absurd. "Ambassador, if these readings are accurate, humans aren't traveling through normal space at all," the lead scientist explained. "They're somehow moving through a parallel layer of reality. Our sensors can't detect it because we're not looking in the right dimension. Can we build this void drive technology ourselves?" "We've been trying, sir. But there's a problem. The human research facilities are empty. They took all their data with them. We're working from theoretical principles and scattered equations. It could take us decades to replicate what they accomplished." Vexithar slammed his fist on the console. Decades. By that time, humans could be anywhere, could have built anything, could have become anything. In a galaxy far beyond Council space, Commander Hyejin Bayek stood on a cliff overlooking what would soon be humanity's capital city. They called the planet New Terra. It orbited a yellow star in a quiet spiral galaxy that Council probes had never reached. Behind her, construction drones worked continuously. Buildings rose from bare ground. Power grids spread across continents. Farms were being planted. This world would support 10 million people within a year, and it was just one of hundreds. "The third wave just arrived," her assistant reported. "Another 50 colony ships. We're going to need to expand the landing zones." Hyejin pulled up the holographic map of human settlement. It was growing exponentially. New Terra was the hub, but colonies spread across 12 galaxies now, each one connected by void drive networks that the Council couldn't detect even if they knew where to look. "How many people have we evacuated total?" Hyejin asked. "Latest count, 4,800,000,000. We left about 3 billion worth of infrastructure behind, but we got everyone who wanted to leave. The rest chose to stay in cryosleep on automated stations, waiting to see if we'd ever go back." Hyejin thought about those who'd stayed behind in secret stations, hidden in asteroid fields and dead systems within old Council space. Insurance policies, seeds of humanity if everything went wrong out here. But looking at the thriving colonies around her, she doubted they'd ever need to go back. Admiral Seojin Park called a meeting of humanity's military command. The question on everyone's mind: what do we do about the Council? "We have the capability to strike back," one general argued. "We could hit them before they even know we're there. Make them pay for trying to cage us." "To what end?" Admiral Park countered. "Revenge? We already won." They're scared and confused. We're free and growing. Why would we waste resources on them? Because they'll try again, the general insisted. Once they figure out void drive technology, they'll come looking for us. Better to eliminate the threat now. Elder Yunji Quan, one of humanity's oldest and most respected scientists, spoke from her seat at the table. She was 97 years old and had lived through humanity's entire journey into space. If we attack them, we become what they feared, she said quietly. We prove that they were right to try to contain us. Is that the legacy we want? To be remembered as the species that destroyed galactic civilization? The room fell silent. Admiral Park nodded slowly. Elder Quan is right. But we can't ignore them either. We need to send a message, not of war but of consequence. They need to understand what they lost when they pushed that button. Back in Council space, young analyst Kenji Matsuda worked late into the night cycle. He belonged to the Terran remnant species, humans who'd evolved on Earth millions of years before modern humans emerged. His people had joined the Council 2,000 years ago. He'd always felt a strange connection to these newer humans, even though they were technically different species. Everyone else had given up trying to find humanity. The official Council position was that humans had somehow destroyed themselves, and the evacuation was a cover story. Kenji didn't believe that. The evidence didn't support it. He'd been studying the energy signatures from the human departure. The pattern was too organized, too controlled. This wasn't destruction. This was precision. They didn't go to another part of this galaxy, Kenji muttered to himself. They went beyond it entirely. Outside detectable space, he ran calculations based on the energy readings. If humans had developed technology to move between dimensional layers, they could theoretically travel anywhere in the universe instantly. Distance would be meaningless. Kenji wrote up his findings in a report. He knew his superiors would dismiss it. They wanted to believe humanity was gone for good, but someone needed to understand the truth. Commander Bora Jung received Kenji's report a week later. She read it carefully, then read it again. The young analyst had figured out something that everyone else had missed or refused to see. Humans hadn't just escaped. They'd transcended the limitations that bound every other species. She forwarded the report to Vexthar with a note. This changes everything. Vexthar read the report in his quarters. Every word felt like an accusation. They'd tried to contain a species that had already broken free from physical limitations. They'd pressed a button meant to trap their prey, but by the time their finger came down, the prey had evolved wings. The council called another emergency session. This time the tone was different. Not confident, not authoritative, fearful. We need to accept the possibility that humans are now more advanced than us, Targan said. He took no pleasure in being proven right. The question is, what do we do about it? What can we do? Another delegate asked. We don't know where they are. We can't detect their ships. We can't track their communications. For all practical purposes, they no longer exist in our reality. But they could come back, someone else said, at any time. With technology we can't match. What's to stop them from taking revenge? Nothing, Targan replied. Which is why we should hope they're better than we were. We tried to cage them, they left. That shows more wisdom than we've demonstrated. The council voted to leave the human worlds untouched. They would maintain the empty cities as they'd found them, monuments to a species that had chosen freedom over submission. And every day, council ships patrolled empty space, watching sensors that showed nothing, waiting for a return that might never come. On New Terra, Hyejin Bayek looked up at the night sky. Somewhere out there, beyond impossible distances, the council was afraid. They were confused. They were wondering if humanity would ever come back. Should we tell them? Her assistant asked. Hyejin smiled. Not yet. Let them wonder. Let them fear. Let them understand what it means to lose control. When we're ready, if we ever want to make contact again, we'll do it on our terms. The assistant nodded. And if they find us first? They won't. They're still thinking in terms of gates and networks. We're thinking in terms of infinite space and unlimited potential. By the time they figure out how we left, we'll be so far beyond them that it won't matter. Humanity had disappeared from the council's reality, but they hadn't vanished from existence. They'd simply moved to a place where cages couldn't reach and buttons couldn't trap them. And somewhere in the vast emptiness of space, the council was learning a lesson they should have learned before they ever pressed that button. You can't contain what you don't understand. The moment came with surprising quietness. No dramatic countdown. No last-minute hesitation. The technicians at the Cascade Protocol facility simply activated the system as scheduled, and reality bent to accommodate their will. Across 47 star systems, every human jump gate received the pulse simultaneously. The gates were massive structures, each one large enough to allow ships the size of cities to pass through. They'd been built with Council assistance, using Council technology, connected to the Council network. Now they collapsed. The implosion was spectacular. Each gate folded in on itself, creating brief flashes of light bright enough to be seen from nearby planets. Within seconds, every connection between human worlds and the greater galaxy simply ceased to exist. The gates were gone. The network was dead. In the Council control room, cheers erupted. The technicians congratulated each other. Vexthar allowed himself a rare smile. It had worked perfectly. No violence, no bloodshed. Just clean, efficient containment. Confirm the collapse, Vexthar ordered. All 47 gates have successfully imploded, Ambassador. The human network is completely severed. They're isolated. Excellent. Open a channel to Earth. Let's discuss terms with President Nam. The channel opened. There was no response. Try again, Vexthar said, his satisfaction fading slightly. The technicians tried multiple frequencies, multiple protocols. Nothing. Earth wasn't responding. Neither was any other human world. Communication blackout. A technician reported. This is normal after a cascade event. The electromagnetic interference should clear in a few hours. Vexithar nodded. That made sense. They would wait. They had time now. Humanity wasn't going anywhere. On Earth, President Ji-Hoon Nam stood in the emergency command center beneath Seoul. Around him, holographic displays showed the status of every human settlement. Green lights indicated successful evacuation. There were thousands of them. Mr. President, the Council just collapsed our gate network, Admiral Choi reported. I know. I watched it happen. President Nam replied calmly. They're probably celebrating right now. Activate Protocol Exodus. Admiral Choi pressed his palm against the authorization panel. Across human space, a signal went out. It was the signal millions of people had been waiting for. The signal that meant everything was about to change. Within minutes, ships began to launch from every human world, not fleeing in panic, moving in organized waves, following evacuation plans that had been practiced and refined over months. Military vessels formed protective screens around civilian transports. Colony ships gathered their populations. Station crews boarded shuttles. And then they jumped. Not through gates, but through the void itself. Ships simply vanished from normal space, traveling to coordinates far beyond anything the Council could detect or reach. Scout Taejin. O stood at his post on Earth's orbital station, watching the evacuation below. Cities were going dark in sequence as people departed. Seoul, Tokyo, New York, Mumbai, Lagos. One by one, the lights of human civilization winked out. It's strange, Pilot Sora Lim said beside him. We built all of this and now we're just leaving it behind. We're not abandoning it, Taejin replied. We're preserving it. When the Council arrives, they'll find our cities intact, our culture preserved. They'll know we didn't run in panic. We left by choice. Sora activated her console, pulling up the message they'd been instructed to leave behind. It would broadcast automatically when Council ships entered Earth's orbit. The message was simple, but it would change everything. Are we really going to tell them not to look for us? Sora asked. We're going to tell them the truth. They tried to cage a species that was already learning to fly. This is their lesson, not our revenge. The last evacuation wave departed Earth 3 hours after the Cascade Protocol activated. Taejin and Sora were on the final shuttle. As they lifted away from the station, they looked back at the planet below. Empty cities, quiet streets, gardens still growing, power grids still running. Everything perfectly preserved, waiting for visitors who would find no one home. 2 weeks passed before the Council fleet reached Earth. Vexthar personally commanded the flagship. He'd prepared a speech about peace and cooperation, about the benefits of joining Council civilization, about how containment was necessary but temporary. The fleet dropped out of hyperspace expecting to find desperate humans waiting to negotiate. Instead, they found silence. "Scan the planet," Vexthar ordered. The scans came back impossible. Population reading, 0. Power grid, active. Infrastructure, intact. No signs of war. No signs of struggle. No signs of disease or disaster. That can't be right. Scan again. The second scan confirmed the first. Earth was empty. Not destroyed. Not damaged. Just empty. Check the colonies. Maybe they evacuated to other human worlds. The fleet split up, visiting every human settlement in the system. Mars, Europa, Titan, the asteroid colonies, the orbital stations. Every single location showed the same pattern. Infrastructure intact, population gone. "Where are they?" Vexthar demanded. Commander Bora Young led an investigation team down to Earth's surface. She'd been part of the Council military for 30 years. She'd seen war zones and disaster sites. This was neither. Her team walked through Seoul's empty streets. The city was pristine. Cars parked neatly, buildings maintained, traffic lights still changing colors for streets with no traffic. In the parks, automated systems still watered the flowers. "It's like they just vanished," one of her team members said. Bora entered what appeared to be a government building. Inside, displays still showed information, archived news, cultural exhibits, a museum of humanity, curated by humans who knew they were leaving. Then she found the message terminal. It was set up in the center of what appeared to be a ceremonial hall, a simple pedestal with a holographic projector. She activated it. A message appeared both in human languages and in Council Standard. Bora read it once, then twice, then a third time. Each reading made her feel colder. "You tried to cage a species that was already learning to fly. Don't look for us. You won't find us. And pray we don't find you." She transmitted the message back to Vexthar's flagship. The ambassador read it in his command chair. His 4 hands gripped the armrests tightly. This wasn't how this was supposed to work. They were supposed to be trapped, contained, negotiable. How did they escape? "We collapsed all their gates. They had no way to leave their system." His science officer pulled up the data they'd gathered. "Ambassador, we're detecting residual energy signatures unlike anything in our databases. It's not jump gate technology. It's something else entirely." "Something else? What else is there?" Nobody had an answer. The Council had built the jump gate network 3,000 years ago. It was the foundation of faster-than-light travel. There was no alternative. There couldn't be an alternative, except humans had found one. The news spread through the Council like a virus. Humanity was gone. All of them. Billions of people had simply disappeared. They'd left their worlds intact, their culture preserved, and a single message that sounded less like a goodbye and more like a warning. Panic started to set in. If humans could vanish completely, where had they gone? What were they doing out there? And most frightening of all, what if they came back? Species that had voted for containment began to regret their choice. Species that had abstained felt relieved. Targan, who had voted against the protocol, felt a mixture of sadness and pride. Humanity had taught the Council a lesson, but at the cost of leaving galactic civilization entirely. In the Council chamber, emergency sessions were called. Delegates demanded answers. How had humans developed technology beyond Council knowledge? Why hadn't their intelligence services detected it? What should they do now? Vexthar stood before them, his earlier confidence completely shattered. "We pushed the button too late," he admitted. "By the time we decided to act, they were already beyond our reach. We didn't contain them. We freed them from ever having to care about us again." The Council chairman's presence filled the chamber. His voice resonated in every mind. "What have we done?" The Cascade Protocol facility orbited a dead star at the edge of Council space. It had been built in secret over 500 years, designed for one purpose: to instantly disable any species that threatened galactic order. The technology was elegant and brutal. It would send a synchronized pulse through every jump gate in a targeted network, causing them to collapse inward on themselves. Vexthar stood in the control room, watching the technicians prepare the system. 3 days had passed since the council vote. Everything was ready. The targeting coordinates were locked onto every human jump gate in known space. 47 gates connecting humanity's worlds to each other and to the broader galaxy. Ambassador, the system is charging, the lead technician reported. Cascade will be ready to deploy in 6 hours. Vexthar nodded with satisfaction. By this time tomorrow, humanity would be trapped in their home system, cut off from their colonies. They would have no choice but to accept council terms. It was mercy, really. Better than the alternative of actual warfare. What Vexthar didn't know was that humanity had stopped depending on jump gates 3 weeks ago. Engineer Hyunsu Lee stood in the testing facility on Ganymede, Jupiter's largest moon. Before him floated a small ship, barely larger than a fighter craft. It looked ordinary enough, but inside its hull was technology that would change everything. All systems green, reported mathematician Subin Kang from her station. The void drive is stable. Navigation coordinates are locked. Hyunsu had been working on this project for 2 years. The theory was simple enough. Instead of pushing through normal space faster than light, the void drive slipped ships into a parallel layer of reality where distance worked differently. A journey that took days through normal space could be completed in seconds through the void. Beginning test sequence, Hyunsu announced. He activated the drive. The small ship didn't accelerate. It didn't build up speed or create a visible energy field. It simply stopped existing in one place and existed in another. The target coordinates had been 3 light years away. The transit time was measured in heartbeats. Perfect navigation, Subin said, her voice filled with wonder. 0 deviation from target coordinates. The math works, Hyunsu. It actually works, they'd done it. Humanity now had the ability to travel anywhere in the universe without using a single jump gate. The Council's containment plan was already obsolete, and they didn't even know it yet. Captain Unisong received her orders while the Council was still preparing the Cascade Protocol. Her colony ship, New Horizon, was one of the largest vessels in the human fleet. It carried 15,000 colonists and enough supplies to establish a self-sufficient settlement. Her orders were unusual. Instead of traveling to one of humanity's established colonies, she was directed to coordinates in a completely different galaxy. The trip would take 3 months using jump gates. Using the new void drive, it would take less than an hour. You want us to jump to another galaxy? Her first officer asked, staring at the orders. Is that even possible? According to Dr. Park's calculations, distance doesn't matter to the void drive, Yuna replied. Space is space. We're just taking a shortcut through it. She activated the encrypted channel to Earth. Director Sunwoo Han appeared on her screen. He was the head of human intelligence and one of the few people who understood the full scope of what was about to happen. Captain Song, your mission is critical, Director Han explained. The Council is going to try to trap us. When they do, humanity needs to already be beyond their reach. Your colony will be the first human settlement outside Council space entirely. If everything goes wrong here, you'll be the seed of humanity's future. Yuna felt the weight of that responsibility. And if everything goes right, then you'll prove that humans can't be caged. Make the jump, Captain. Show us the way forward. The New Horizon made the jump 12 hours later. 15,000 people held their breath as the void drive activated. The ship slipped out of normal space, traveled through the void, and emerged in a galaxy so far away that no Council species had ever reached it. They'd done more than escape. They'd proven humanity could go anywhere. Back in Council space, intelligence analysts were intercepting fragments of human communications. The encryption was good, but not perfect. Pieces of conversation leaked through. References to evacuation protocols and contingency planning and protocol whisper. They're panicking, one analyst reported to Vexithar. These communications suggest internal conflict. Some humans want to fight, others want to surrender. They're divided. Vexithar shared this information with the Council. It reinforced their belief that containment was the right choice. A divided humanity would be easier to manage. Some would accept Council authority. The others could be isolated until they saw reason. We should accelerate the timeline, Vexthar suggested. Strike while they're still arguing among themselves. The Council agreed. The Cascade Protocol deployment was moved up by 18 hours. What they'd actually intercepted were fragments of humanity's evacuation plan. The internal conflict they detected was actually millions of messages coordinating the largest mass movement of people in human history. Every human colony, every ship, every station was preparing to disappear. Admiral Minho Choi stood in Earth's orbital command center, watching the countdown. 48 hours until the Council attacked. That gave humanity just enough time to vanish. Status report, he ordered. Military fleet is 93% equipped with void drives, his operations officer reported. Civilian ships are at 76%. Colony evacuation is proceeding on schedule. Not good enough. Push the civilian conversion teams harder. I want every human ship void capable before the cascade hits. Sir, some of the outer colonies are asking why we're evacuating. They want to stand and fight. Admiral Choi understood that impulse. Part of him wanted to fight too. But this wasn't about winning a war. It was about surviving to tell the story. Tell them this isn't retreat. It's evolution. The Council thinks they can trap us. We're going to show them that humanity can't be trapped. Not anymore. Dr. Ji-Young Park worked without sleep for 3 days straight, personally overseeing the installation of void drives on civilian vessels. Each ship that received the upgrade was another 1,000 people who could escape. Another piece of humanity that would survive whatever the Council had planned. Doctor, you need rest, her assistant insisted. I'll rest when every human ship can fly free, Ji-Young replied, moving to the next installation. She thought about the irony of the situation. The Council had pushed humanity to develop this technology faster than they ever would have on their own. Fear was a powerful motivator. So was the determination not to be controlled. In the Council chamber, the final authorization was given. The Cascade Protocol would deploy in 6 hours. Vexthar made one last statement to the assembled representatives. Today we ensure the safety of the galaxy. Today we prove that the Council exists to maintain order and peace. History will remember this as the day we prevented another burning wars. The representatives applauded. They believed they were doing the right thing. Targan sat in his quarters, the only Council member who understood the truth. He'd tried to warn them. He'd tried to make them see that you couldn't cage a species that had learned to fly. But they hadn't listened. He sent one final message to Admiral Choi. I'm sorry we failed you. I hope you find peace in whatever comes next. On Earth, President Ji-Hoon Nam addressed humanity one last time before the evacuation was complete. His message was broadcast to every human settlement in the galaxy. My fellow humans, in a few hours, the Council will try to trap us. They will fail. Not because we're stronger than them, but because we refuse to be limited by their fears. We're leaving, not in defeat, but in defiance. We're taking our future into our own hands, and we're going to build something they never could. A civilization free from the chains of someone else's authority. The countdown continued. The Council prepared their weapon, humanity prepared to vanish, and neither side fully understood what was about to happen. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council stretched across 3 levels, filled with representatives from 47 different species. Each one sat in their designated section, breathing different atmospheres and existing at different temperatures. The technology that made this possible hummed quietly beneath the marble-like floors. Ambassador Vexithar stepped forward. His forearms gestured at the holographic display floating above the central platform. The images showed human settlements spreading across dozens of star systems. Red markers indicated new colonies. There were hundreds of them. They multiply like parasites, Vexthar announced. His voice carried through the translation devices everyone wore. 3 years ago, humans controlled 12 systems. Today, 47. Tomorrow, perhaps 100. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Some species had taken centuries to establish half that many colonies. Humans had been in space for less than a generation. Council member Targan leaned forward in his seat. His species, the Valorians, had been spacefaring for over 10,000 years. They considered themselves the wise elders of the galaxy. Ambassador, every species expands when they first discover faster-than-light travel. This is normal behavior. Normal? Vexthar's voice rose. Look at their technology growth rate. Look at their military buildup. They're not exploring. They're preparing. Captain Daeho Kim stood on the bridge of the research vessel Horizon's Edge, studying the readings on his screen. His crew had been testing the prototype void drive for 6 months now. Each test brought them closer to something extraordinary. Captain, we're getting unusual energy signatures from the Council border stations, his communications officer reported. They're scanning us more frequently. Daeho nodded slowly. He'd expected this. Humans had been feeling the weight of Council suspicion for months. Trade restrictions had increased. Border patrols had doubled. The Council was getting nervous. Keep monitoring. Don't give them any reason to escalate, Diho ordered. He pulled up the encrypted channel to Earth. Get me Admiral Minho Choi. The connection took a moment to establish. When Admiral Choi's face appeared on the screen, he looked tired. The Admiral had been coordinating humanity's defense preparations for 2 years straight. Captain Kim, tell me you have good news, the Admiral said. The void drive is stable, sir. Dr. Ji-young Park believes we're ready for full-scale testing within a month. The Admiral's expression didn't change, but his eyes showed relief. A month might be too long. The Council is moving pieces into position. Targan just sent me a private message. He's trying to help us, but his influence is limited. Back in the Council chamber, the debate continued. Species after species stood to voice their concerns about humanity. Some called for trade restrictions. Others wanted military containment. A few suggested complete isolation. Targan tried to argue for patience. They're young, yes. Aggressive in their expansion, perhaps. But they've shown no hostile intent toward any Council species. They pay their tariffs. They respect border agreements. What crime have they committed? The crime of potential, Vexthar replied coldly. We've all seen what happens when a species gains too much power too quickly. The burning wars nearly destroyed half the galaxy. We created this Council to prevent such disasters. By suppressing anyone who might challenge your authority, Targan shot back. The Council chairman, an ancient being whose species had long since evolved beyond physical form, interrupted them. His voice resonated directly in everyone's mind. Enough. We will investigate these claims thoroughly. Ambassador Vexthar, present your full evidence. The hologram shifted. It showed human research facilities, military shipyards, and colonial infrastructure. The growth was impressive, even Targan had to admit. But what caught everyone's attention was the final image. This, Vexthar announced, is a human research station near the Outer Veil. Our intelligence suggests they're developing something called a void drive, technology that could make our Jumpgate network obsolete. The chamber erupted in shocked voices. The Jumpgate network was the foundation of galactic civilization. It had taken the combined effort of 20 species over 3,000 years to build. If humans could bypass it, they would be free from Council control. Dr. Ji-young Park reviewed the calculations for the 100th time. The mathematics were perfect. The prototype tests had succeeded beyond expectations. The void drive didn't just move ships faster than light. It moved them through a different layer of space entirely. No jump gates needed. No predictable routes. Complete freedom. Doctor, you need to see this, her assistant called out. Ji-young walked over to the monitoring station. The screen showed increased military activity along all Council borders facing human space. Ships were being repositioned. Weapons platforms were coming online. They're preparing for something, her assistant said quietly. Ji-young felt cold dread settling in her stomach. She'd known this technology would frighten the Council, but she hadn't expected them to react so quickly or so aggressively. She opened her communicator and called Admiral Choi directly. Admiral, we need to accelerate the timeline. The Council is moving. The Admiral had been in a strategy meeting with President Ji-hoon Nam and the Human Defense Council when Dr. Park's call came through. They'd been discussing contingency plans, evacuation protocols, worst-case scenarios. How soon can we deploy the void drive fleet-wide? The Admiral asked. 2 weeks for military vessels. A month for civilian ships. But Admiral, we're talking about equipping thousands of ships. The logistics alone. Make it happen, Doctor. Whatever resources you need, you'll have them. President Nam spoke up. Are we certain the Council will attack? Perhaps this is just posturing. Admiral Choi shook his head. Mr. President, I've been studying Council history. Every species that threatened their technological dominance was either absorbed into their system or eliminated. Humans won't accept absorption. That leaves one option. In the Council chamber, the vote was called. 47 species would decide humanity's fate. The question was simple. Implement containment protocols or allow human expansion to continue unchecked. Targan cast his vote against containment. 3 other species joined him. The rest voted in favor. The Council chairman's voice resonated through the chamber one final time. The Cascade Protocol is authorized. We will collapse all human jump gates simultaneously. Without faster-than-light capability, humanity will be confined to their home system. We will negotiate their integration into Council society from a position of strength. Vexthar smiled. It was the smile of someone who believed they'd just prevented a war. Targan left the chamber immediately. He sent one final encrypted message to Admiral Choi. They voted for containment. You have 72 hours. I'm sorry, on Earth alarms began to sound. Not loud or panicked, but steady and purposeful. Humanity had prepared for this moment. Now they would find out if their preparations were enough.